is Major Gaming, and today I'm going to show you all my pretend job that I have in the game known as Subnautica. So let's begin. So I begin my day by going into the kitchen and preparing breakfast. For breakfast, I normally just get a bit of water and food, consisting of some clown pincher. And then I start making some coffee. I get myself some chips. And I set them up, and I set the chips on the table while waiting. I make sure I have this big feast set up, as this is most likely the only thing that I'm going to be eating for this whole time. So I sit down on my little pedestal and I begin to eat, starting with the coffee normally and then going on to the chips. I save the water for later. I put the chips back with the food in the cupboard so that I don't have to eat the whole thing. Then I move on back to my room. I pet my cat, her name is Marla, and then begin to brush her. I also, of course, use a scan, which I have a special tool for. I need to scan her to make sure that she's still safe from the quantum bacteria that is in this sector. Don't worry, this process is not harmful at all. Then I put on my extra clothing, and I think that I'm looking pretty good. I go into the lab and then start to do my research, starting with using the PDA. I set it down when I'm going through all my documents and folders. Then I begin to write down more of the stuff. It's very, very important that I keep a perfect journal. Otherwise, I would maybe forget the important things that we've learned about the Reapers. The Scientific Reaper Research Base, also known as the SRR base, is immune to the Reapers and relatively invisible to them. The only thing they can see is the observatory. So now I head out to the observatory and begin watching my friend Aquaria swim about. I find it really fun to watch the Reapers swim around, and because it is one part of my job, but also just fun to see my friends running around. I look around at all of the creatures, and even stick out a thermometer. Although I've already done that today, you can see it down there. I stick out a thermometer into the water to make sure that the radiation levels are staying in check. Reapers live off of radiation. This is why you don't normally see them eat. They live off of radiation, and we're actually a form of failed science experiment from the same ones that cause the carabacterium. So I begin to sit down and look at my motivational picture, as I do still feel some amounts of sad as I'm dedicating my life to Reaper Leviathan, something that would easily kill me, but also letting my friends die because of it. But that's okay. I turn off my light and begin to feed my little fish. Their name is Hover. They are a hoverfish. This is the point where I have to do much more research about other things. I have some mortar parts that I've hung up so that I can try to decide and more about how they teleport to see if I can teleport myself. I also take the Reaper Leviathan's skull as an example of how their echolocation works. We have a very, very special replicator that can replicate these things once we get enough data. It is in my room. We have to learn more about the new species that we found in the void, which is this thing. I look at all my things to make sure that none of them have been knocked down from the roaring, and then I feed my bigger aquarium of fish. Several different kinds of clown pinchers, including ruby clown pinchers, amber clown pinchers, and emerald clown pinchers. Then I go into the scanner room and begin to build that long-awaited window that I've been wanting for a while. This window will be able to show me exactly where the creatures are, while also blocking out the background. It makes the creatures slightly glow, along with all of the light forms. Any warmth will be shown. Now at this point, I really want to go do something else that's not research, as I am a little bored, so I decided to go a bit of free swimming with my pet cuttlefish. This is a form of redwort plant, which is found in the dunes, and these are cuttlefish. It's also known as the cute fish. I love them so much, and they are adorable. So I play around with them, and boop them on their nose a bit, and then I have to go back to my research after about 1 hour of swimming around with them. So next, I'm going out into the observatory to see how everything looks at night, to make sure that all of the glowing and radiation is good. I check and it's all good, so I head off on my trail. This trail is not only fun, but also will help me get to different places without being attacked by something. It also has some auto light filters right here. This will allow us to go deep into the heart of this area known as the dunes, and not be attacked by the sand sharks and reapers roaming about. This is heavily reinforced glass that can withstand the pressure of 369 meters, but it could probably withstand closer to 600 meters down in the ocean, along with the full force of a reaper ramming into it. So here we hit the crossroad, and I go out into the observatory first, just to see if all of the reapers are still here. I look at one, and I see it, and then the two others that were back on my base are fine. So now they're all good. So I do the half of my research here, but I can't go back to do the rest of it. So I use a very special thing, kind of like an in-chest from Minecraft, to teleport my other equipment here. However, we do need to repair it, and we don't have the kyanite important, which can only be found in the void, which means that I must go back. Silly me, always forgetting the things. It is worth noting that this is SRR 3.0, as the first Reaper research program was actually cracked under the high depths when their cameras were trying to send signals from the very depths of the void. Then 2.0 was overrun by a group of mutated peepers that were way closer to the Aurora and then came here. So, this is our third program. I go back in and then go to my bedroom to get other clothes. I take off the previous clothes and swap them with the other ones. And the reason why I need an air bladder with me is because while we're in the void, it's going to be very, very hard for us to not get sucked down to the depths. So it is incredibly important that we have this on. So I put back the other clothes after changing out of them, including the rebreather. Then I hold the air bladder in my hands to make sure that I won't be sucked down. It also gives me a steady supply of air out here in the wilderness. So I walk along this path, which, like I had mentioned before, is very, very fun for me. And I continue to look all around. The air bladder does make me feel slightly lightheaded, however, it is very, very important once we reach the void. We continue on and eventually stop at a compartment where I have a full supply of lunch food in case I decide to sleep out here in the void. I take a bit of hot sauce, or at least try to. I take a bit of hot sauce and pour it onto some reheated ramen noodles. Scary, because the Reapers being there means that I will actually not have to check them again. If they're roaring, this means that their systems are working perfectly fine. Now, I climb back up again and take a look at everything else, as this is just a roller coaster for me as it is anyone else. You may see gasteropods, sand sharks, sea treaders, Reaper leviathans, and thalassians on the journey, along with the occasional Reaper or leviathan adult and warper. I climb back up again and am greeted by this beautiful scene of all of the creatures you can find in the dunes that are more important. Clown pinchers, a reefback, and even a sand shark in captivity, along with the peeper and boomerang. If you continue climbing up, then you can have this beautiful glass observatory hidden slightly under the ground. Oh look, it's a warper. I knew we would find one. Warpers seem to have technology inside of them, as they appear to be slightly robotic and made of metals and wires. This means that they can very easily teleport, or using just a simple teleport command in their genes. Yet no one is sure how it works. Now we have extra observatories, and you can even see a thalassian. Thalassian swallow their fish and prey whole, typically by using the means method of swimming around and picking up the small fish, similar to a whale shark but carnivorous, as whale sharks are not carnivorous. We can look up and see a Reaper leviathan swimming above, one of the ones that I don't see very often as it's not near our base. So I continue on my journey and turn the light programs back on and continue to look at all of the observatories. I hear an interesting sound of roars and figure that we must be getting close to the sea treader's path. Sea treaders are a very, very rare species of bottom dweller. They are also leviathan, however they are called sea treaders and not sea treader leviathan, because they are the smallest of leviathan species and hardly big enough to be considered a leviathan. So we continue along the path and we can see the void drop off. This is a key point. We can in fact see a camera off in the distance as well. This camera was used to go into these void depths but it ended up shutting down. With no way to recover it, we have left it here and chosen to make a new camera. You can see several different chunks of ore as you continue through the path. Some of them have sunk from different biomes and been caught in currents to get here. Some of them are normal here, such as the rubies, which have grown over time, and the uranium, which is appeared to be hardened and fossilized remnants of the radiation from years ago. Oh, there we go. We decided to give this one a name, Crash, because this one really likes to crash into that. They have a habit of loving jump scares, and we're pretty sure they're the youngest, but we don't know for sure. We've decided that we should be able to tell the age by the sound of their roar, given that their echolocation would develop as they get older. Here you can see some rubies floating down to the ground as we go through another tunnel-like thing and state. Now we're approaching the sea treader's path. While it does not always have sea treaders on it, it does sometimes, and these sea treaders are very important for the ecosystem, as they kick up dust and bacteria that the sand sharks will later eat, along with the clown pincher's diet. However, it appears that several of them have gone away for now. They make a path through the Grand Reef and the dunes, so that means that given the last time I saw them, they're probably heading back to the dunes. We even have a special switch right here that will turn off all of the water's gradient, but only on the inside. This helps us to see them. You can even see things like reapers in the distance. So I look around for a little bit, and I keep searching, and I can't see any. However, there are the remnants, such as alien feces, and several shale outcrops lost all around. The shale outcrops get kicked up and also have bacteria around them. So I turn the water gradient back on and continue on my long journey to the void. At this moment, we can see a slight drop-off of the water, a crater edge. The water begins to turn more blue, but it actually is that it's turning black. We have a small admin panel here, so that we'll be able to see them better in the distance. We simply turn it to filmic, which includes all of the lighting and shading, and this will allow us to see their glow and spot them better. There appear to be 3 ghost leviathans in the void that we have seen so far. However, there may be many more. We don't know their breeding habits or if they even do breed, so it could be possible that these are the last of their kind. We continue going through and we eventually hit this area. Now the air bladder is important, as we have gone slightly down each way, and we are now 356 meters below the depth. So we look around a bit, and I start getting a little worried. This normally happens as the ghost leviathans don't typically be friendly. This is why we also have the fog takeoff thing. So we take off the fog, and whoop, there it is. You can only slightly see it, giving the shadow, but it is here. It's a glorious creature. While they are much more aggressive than the reapers or the reefbacks that are hidden around the dunes, they also are very playful. They just don't know their own strength. And they swim off into the distance. They appear to hunt in packs, but we aren't sure if they're actually hunting as they do this. They may just be swimming about in packs, possibly a pack here and then a pack on the other side. We have seen some much younger ones closer to the lava zone, which is where the sea dragon resides. And we know that the sea dragon Leviathan can come up out of the ground to take Reapers down into the depths. So I turn the fog thing back off and I continue going on my way. I don't want to stay here for as long as I can. It's not that it is scary, it's that it emanates fear from its presence. It's a simple feeling that the biome actually sends to your brain to run, even though all it is blackness and a small creature. So I continue on my way back, and now we have been able to scan this ghost Leviathan creature. So now we'll be able to make a perfect replica of it and send it to our more researchers. And then eventually they'll send back a DNA sample, and I will be able to see more about its organs and how it lives. We might even be able to find out if they are the last of their kind. So I continue along, and the pure darkness is starting to get to me. I open up that admin panel thing again, and I turn off the filmic route to off, and everything starts looking much, much better. Yet I still know it's night, and I should be getting to bed soon. I yet again think about how beautiful this area is, and all. I think that it's absolutely a wonderful thing to explore this place at night and just take in all of its terrors. You can even see the Reapers swimming about, but only when they get very close to you. This leads to Crash's jump scares, which I think are really, really cool. So we continue along the way, and we eventually see the occasional warper and know that we are back in the dunes. I have a HUD chip that's implanted in my helmet, and this will tell me where the Reapers are, so that I'll know exactly where they are when I need to find one. In fact, there's one right over there. They are really hard to see because of the night, but it portrays them as a slight body heat in their shape to me. I continue to run home, wondering when I'll see Crash again. Or if I've maybe passed him. I'm not sure. I continue going along, but at a rather slow pace, so I turn up the speed of the train. This makes everything look slightly warped, and it even makes the Reapers look like they're going much faster, along with any other kind of creature. It is really, really strange to see them. So I turn the speed down back to 2. The highest that it can go is 20, but we only do that last resort for special escaping. Eventually we get back in here and the speeds turn off on their own. I look down at everything I've accomplished. I think it's beautiful. I continue on, and my hand is getting sore from being locked into the air bladder for a bit. But it's very, very important that I keep on having it locked onto me. Otherwise, I'll most certainly be sucked through the floor and down through the ground. No wonder the sea dragons can actually go through. I continue going along in the pitch blackness. It's a little terrifying, just knowing everything that is here, but I still continue on. I, of course, have my fear of peeper swarms after the peeper nightmare that came. After the peeper swarms did. But anyway, I go back to my room and I put away the air bladder and the other clothes that I had had. I hear the sand sharks swimming about and hunting. Sand sharks do indeed have to eat. And And after I put everything in, I go back over and feed hoverfish again. Then I go back on to my research. I look at the picture again and determine that this one has to be that same one, as it still has those blind eyes staring at me, while the other ones all had bright green eyes. I look through my superheated glass to make sure that no peepers are moving in. This is a routine for me now. I look down at my cuttlefish again, and then I start creating my hopes and dreams. I make a beautiful Ghost Leviathan sample doll and place it down next to my Reaper. It's very, very big compared to the others, so I have to waste a bunch of time trying to find out how to put it on. But eventually, it is done. This is my scanner room that I use. It has these deployable cameras that you can follow around. And you can also look through it. This is how we actually research the Reapers. I control camera 1 and begin to look around. I see the Reaper in the distance along with the base, and I begin to swim over to the Reaper's signal. I cleverly would dodge these beautiful smoke patterns as they would break through everything that I've had. And then beyond it, I see the Reaper. I swim way over to it, seeing also the path. Reapers are such big creatures, but they look so small from such a different angle. Even though I do know that these ones are really young. The adults do live in the mountains by them. But they are still really big up close. Reapers are blind, which means that they won't be able to see me without their echolocation. And they will also be able to pick up the electric signals from the camera, letting them know I'm here so that they don't get startled. They do occasionally charge, but I know that it's just playing, as they are very friendly to me. Reapers also have a similar thing to the sea dragons, where they can go under the sand, burrowing down deep into it. After I'm done checking out the Reapers, which I typically do for about half an hour, I go over to the Thalassian herds in the distance. At around 300 meters away from the scanner room, the cameras start glitching out, so I have to be very careful I don't get far away. I take a close look at the Thalassian and make sure that its mouth is still in proper shape. They have their crazy roars, which pierce the ears. That's why I stopped just then. They know how to avoid the Reapers very well, as they can shade the light using these specks to make it look like they're just some sort of sunbeam. They have their inner mouth, which is always open, and then their spikes, which are used to push food down. A very clever nature's design. But what's this? I go off the camera for a few seconds before going back and inspecting one of the creatures. I see bright green spots on it. A very concerning match. This creature is clearly infected with the Carabacterium, a highly dangerous thing that was put out by the same things that put the Reapers into this world. A very dangerous and deadly disease that's highly spreadable. This creature will need to be escorted to a containment facility. So I begin to scan it. I find nothing super wrong with it aside from the green spots and decide that it must have been infected recently. This is why it's also the only of its kind here to be infected. And then I leave again, but eventually I see something very interesting. There's one Reaper there, over by my base, which is normal. There's the two Reapers outside, and there's one other Reaper. There's Crash, there's Void, and then down there, wherever they went, is my friend. They're there. But who is that? I decide that it must be some other Reaper, possibly offspring of Ikoria, who appears to be the only female Reaper here. Reapers are incredibly flexible. But it has been a full day, and now I must sleep. So, after printing out the full communication of this new ghost Leviathan, I go back, put everything in, and start for dinner. For dinner, I get a whole new bag of chips because I didn't feel like eating the other kind, which was just rice and corn. This one is potato mix, which I do normally eat for dinner. After I'm done eating it, I head swiftly to bed. And then the story ends. I've completed a full day. Goodbye.